Now, as we go into this next song, I just want to bring this up. You guys did some recording at and you called it the Doghouse in your old neighborhood, Christian, right? And these two songs. So some of this record, there's two, right? There's this song, Blue Light, and Billy and the Time Machine. You recorded in there, correct? Did we do any more in there?
No, what that was you were in California. Mm-hmm. You were sending me cassette tapes of the things that you were working on. Mm-hmm. And that's where I had heard Billy and the Time Machine first. Mm-hmm. And Brandon, I think this was, did we have an MPC? Is that what it was?
Yeah, you had that.
We had the MPC because that's what I did the opera outro for this last song on, right. I remember.
And I guess I didn't know how to program on it. I just knew how to sample on it. Mm-hmm. And both of these songs, Billy and Time Machine and Blue Light, we called it the Doghouse, but really it was just me with my little Roland thing. Mm-hmm. And that was just the name of the house behind Miko's house.
Yeah, it's like a man cave, and you had your you had all your music gear in there.
And I had somewhat gotten thrown out of my own house for making too much noise.
It was the neighbor's man cave. It was one better than a man cave.
True. It was the beginning of my terrible programming, which still kind of continues today. But I'm an available resources programming guy, so if I hear it, I'm like, oh, cool. Can you just loop that? It never goes anywhere. It just stays. And it was because I didn't know how to look for another one. But it was just one of those things where I put that into that one device, and then maybe it was Don, it was you. It was like, we'll just spit it out into the machine.
Yeah.
We
went from that to tape and then fixed it.
Yeah.
But it sounds beautiful. I mean, it sounds really beautiful on the record. Both these songs are very, it is a very crystallized zone
it's very intimate
sound that we're playing into.
Yeah, it's very intimate, and I feel like it is a shift for this record, right? Because so much, I think, epic would describe our approach to other songs, right?
Yeah.
And this brings in this intimacy that I think is a great balance to this whole production, which is those are the two,
and I couldn't get a loop to be dynamic. I couldn't get it to be louder or softer, and God bless, if I could have, I would have. But I think it boundaried us in. Like, all I had was a bass line.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And we just kind of went from there.
Let's listen.
It did not.
Let's listen. I'm going to go get my pizza while we do this, so don't be distracted by my absence.
Okay.
Okay, muting all. I'm going to count you down. 3, 2, 1, go.
Where the blood in my veins is frozen, and my feet feel glued to the floor. I got carried away over nothing. Now nothing is all I'm good for. I've been holding up the ceiling, scared that it might fall down. Now I'm stuck in between all the movies I've seen, in this miserable hole in the ground. She says, take down your hands, let the blood flow back, it'll be alright. Have you ever seen her in blue light? Dance to the music of the saints. The rhythm alone could render your bones if I look like the wreck that I feel, running fingers back through my hair. Well, I know I'm no good at hiding, monkeys jumping under my head. I'm lost in the currents I'm riding, I'm lost in the sheets of my bed. She says no one here said a word, so please do not disturb. Gotta hold on tight, it'll be alright. Have you ever seen her in blue light? Dance to the music of the saints. The rhythm alone could render your bones. Shadows bounce off her face. Have you ever seen her in blue light? Dance to the music of the saints. The rhythm alone could render your bones. Shadows dance off her face.
So good. Okay, so here's the questions I have on this. Did somebody play the floor tom drums? Is there a drummer on it, or is that another programmed thing?
No, it just says loops.
It's the second loop.
Yeah.
Yeah, Christians and Brandon have loop credit on this.
Yeah.
There are 3 electrics, and I can pick out the electric stuff is really cool. I can pick
I gotta
out
tell you,
mine.
man, this is
because-
moment. Andrew, you got like, I know you knock your guitar playing a lot on an electric, but you are fucking great at it.
I agree.
Yeah, well, in that one, I heard that little beep beep happening where
Yeah.
Don panned it hard left, and it's because I had no space. So what do? A lot of that playing is like I gotta find a space, like that. You guys are covering all the ground, and I actually did something similar on Call It Even. I
Yeah.
played this kind of ghost, like little, like creating my own echo with claw on it, right, Christian?
Mhm.
Yeah, you could control the timing of it instead of using an echo pedal because you were actually playing it.
Right.
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 Yeah.
It's
cool
very
how
much like we just listened to a bunch of Talking Heads earlier today, and it's very much like that.
Yeah, I always loved his playing. You know who plays like that? And when I first started listening and playing was the guy who played with Lou Reed. Shit, what's his name? Such a good player. Oh, he played on New York. He's a really amazing guitar player.
It's not Ribot, is it?
What?
Ribot, Mark Ribot, is that?
Mark Ribot is great. He plays on a lot of Tom Waits' stuff. No, it's this New York guy, and I'll remember it. It'll come to me 2 songs from now, and I'll blurt it out. Yeah, I can't remember his name.
But it's
Oh,
great,
anyway.
The way you play through that track is really cool because you're doing that part, but then you're doing other things. You're like, you're using the answer parts everywhere. And at the end, what's really cool is you're singing things that you played earlier and you're playing things.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
You know, it's really cool. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
You know, listening back, your instincts to play are your instincts to sing.
Yeah.
I mean, awesome.
Yeah, you know, and the other thing I love about that track, Christian, is I've been listening and working on the high-risk stuff now, and I just love music where the harmony or good harmony singing, like the Everly Brothers, is the harmonizing comes in just as strongly as the lead vocal, and it creates this whole. It's not harmonized like people. There are producers who see harmony as pad in back of the vocal, just the lift, you know. And when you hear it come in at the same volume and spirit, it changes it in such a dramatic way. It's such a cool thing. And that track, I heard it for the first time in the record, that thing that we do where the harmony is like both of us right there. It's cool.
Yeah.
And that's a thing. What was that like, Don, to you know, historically, to just always be managing our vocals like, because I know we would go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, but what was that like for you? Because it worked. Like, and it is exactly what Andrew's saying. I think it's like part of the definition of the band.
Yeah, I think it was a moving target for me. You know, it developed over time. I mean, we were working together when we were like 21, 22, whatever years old. I don't know. Maybe I'm being generous, but maybe I was older. But like from the early days, like it would change. You know, like when you guys first started, you were like like a tight duo and just normal like Ashley and Mark, you know, like same kind of thing, 2 guitars, 2 vocals. And over time, like you guys developed your own styles and like each one would bring something to the song differently. And I had to treat you guys vocals differently, you know, like I would record you differently, Christian, than I would record Andrew, you know, for sure. Like totally different settings, totally different mics a lot of times. So, you know, it just sort of kind of took time to evolve into it. But I mean, you guys found your own way, and I just was kind of trying to follow along and figure out how to record it, you know?
It's cool because for me, collaboration happens in a lot of different ways, right? And listening back to this record, Andrew, you and I were like deep into like, we were not drawing lines going, you do this, I'll do this. It was like, what do you think? I don't know. Let me try this. Oh man, you should do that. Like we were like pushing the other guy. To go do whatever that was.
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah, it was a completely different one. I mean, what was the last thing we had done before? We maybe had a couple demo sessions after the Atlantic thing. Yeah. Before this was in 1999. This is like 4 or 5 years later, and it's the first time we're making a record. And so much waters. But I tell that a lot. I mean, I got signed to it when we were signed to Atlantic. I'd only been writing for maybe 4 years. Right. I mean, geez, and I only had maybe 40 songs to pick from. You know, like in that 5-year period, I went out to California, sat with an ADAT for 2 years, and finally got caught up with catalog, and found my footing as a writer and got comfortable with how I present myself, basically. You know, it's interesting because you feel the comfort on this album. I think that's why we gravitate toward it more.
I agree. Yeah.
At some point, I think I went through a list of how many songs we were looking at as the pool for this. Mm-hmm. It was close to 70.
Wow.
They were just like either complete songs or pieces of songs, and we even tried to record some of them. Like I found some. There was a great one about had the thing about a Nickelback in high school. Read 3 Cheers.
Oh yeah.
It was
just
3 Cheers.
I was looking for all this stuff in pandemic life, right? I was digging through boxes, and I'm like, holy smokes, look at all this music. And however we narrowed it down to this, I'll have no idea, but there's a lot of angels. Like,
yeah,
because when I listened to the whole thing, it's like, wow, of course.
Yeah, we picked the right ones. Yeah.
You know, I'll tell this story before to proceed Tumble Lane, but I wrote that song pre 9/11. That song was written
Yeah, very.
6 to 8 months before 9/11, and listen to the imagery of this next song. It's all about planes flying into buildings with planes flying into them, flying above it, getting over it, the release of it. It's like, where did that come from? I remember talking with a songwriter in Atlanta and telling him that, like, I was just channeling this song. I didn't have I had no like spot where I go, this is the story here, and this is the dialogue, this is the narrative. None of that. It was all just images thrown at me in a song. And and there's another part of that, Christian, you had just taught me that kind of down, drop D, or I'd start playing. I've seen you play it on Insomniac forever, but this is probably one of the first couple songs that I'd written that in, and it allowed my voice, that big thunderous drop D, just to go. So the narrative wasn't as important as the sonic of just letting my voice go in a song. But all the words that put itself in there were all these kind of very strange channeling moments. When I hear it now, I'm always like, people are like, wow, you wrote a song about 9/11. I'm like, I wrote it before that.
Yeah.
You know?
Wow.
That's really cool.
That's got to be creepy and awesome. Like,
Yeah.
I listened to it last night, and I know, I guess we're waiting for Brandon, but I listened to it last night, and talking to a radio friend of mine, and I was trying intentionally not to set it up, like any of the music, just to get a real clean reaction from somebody who works all the time in radio. And I was like, oh man, here comes the one. Like, cause I've forever thought that this is like the song Pearl Jam wish they could have sung or written.
Yeah.
Like I just, it's like the one, it's not even that got away. It's the one that's like here to heal and launch you, and so I watched the face of the friend of mine go by as this song went by. They're like, oh my God, that is awesome. What is it about?
Yeah.
And I was like, huh. And then I said, well, what do you think it's about? And they were like, I'm not sure that it really matters what it's about to me, because I feel whatever that is.
Yeah.
And another interesting part of that story is that I didn't know what a tumbleane was. I'm like, what the fuck am I saying? I mean, it's bizarre. I told Matthew Kaler this. He's like, and then he looked at me and he shook his head like, that doesn't count. That's not really a song. I mean, that was kind of his reaction. I'm like, I kind of agree with you. I don't know what the hell it is either. But a pilot comes up to me after, I don't know, he'd listened to our music, and it was at a show, Christian. And he goes, do you know what a tumbleane is? I was like, no. And he said, oh, that's the slipstream in back of an airplane. If you're the other pilot and you are like, you're in the slipstream of that plane, they call that the tumble lane, because your plane will rock in that. You're too close to the other plane, basically. That's why they allow 2 minutes for takeoff or whatever. If you get in that slipstream, you're too close, you're in the tumble lane.
Wow.
I never knew that. How bizarre is that?
I was like, whoa, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Like years ago, you told me that, you told me, I think probably shortly after you talked to that pilot, because I remember you saying that exact story. It's crazy.
Yeah. This is such an odd song, because it is. It's like, where did this come from? Where have I been? Such a shout of like, for Time Machine, it's along the lines of, if we have a narrative and a story to tell on this record, and you're in a time machine, where have I been? What am I seeing? Where am I? You pop out of it like you're Billy Pilgrim, Christian, and you're like, right? It's a moment of, holy shit, like your heart is engaged in the moment of travel.
Yeah.
It's totally what it feels like. And I have to selfishly say that I loved playing the bass guitar.
It was bitching that.
On the parts of this song that I played bass guitar. I know that you probably like played over the top of me, Don, because it is hard not to be the one.
I doubt it.
Oh man, I had so much.
Hypnosis.
Did Don play it? Is that what's on there?
No.
I played
Don's credited for Mellotron and electric, and then Christian, you're playing electric too. You play that kind of edge,
Yeah.
That little, and then I have acoustic and electric and vocals as well, and then
bass on. I know that's not my bass line. I would not have played that.
No, that's Christian playing bass on it.
Yeah,
and Siggy's drumming. I don't remember watching him live playing the drums on this record. It's weird.
I do, because I think he was in the hallway.
Oh yes, now it's coming back to me.
Because I got to watch him.
Right.
And was this in the house or in the?
Yeah, in the house.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the house.
We must have like done this right when we started it in the house, and then like I moved and we switched over to the
And
theater.
switched over to the theater.
Yeah.
That's
That
what
must-
happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in the meantime, I think we were so the mid bridge is you at the Doghouse, Christian, because then after that everything was recorded over at Avondale.
Ah, well, that makes sense.
Yeah, because it does make sense. Like we sort of started, I was moving the studio, so you switched to the Doghouse. That's where you were working.
Right.
Once
And
I
then-
got up and running.
Yeah, because Brandon and I ended up upstairs, moving
Yeah.
all the Doghouse stuff upstairs to at the studio.
That's right. That's right.
Exactly
yeah.
right.
And that's
Yeah.
where we did Daydream. That was the last song we did.
Yeah.
Upstairs in your studio there. You call that projector room, Christian?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was
That
the
was the
original one, and that we just kept the name when we moved back over into Franskowiak's place.
That's awesome. Yeah.
And so now it's uncredited on like Sugarland Records. And
No, it's like,
shall we listen? I can go ahead and count us down. Let's see, Brandon, did he text me about something? Just lost power. Okay. Well,
sucks.
there you go. You ready? 3, 2, 1.
Soaring over the city in Tomberlane, crashing into the sides of the airplanes. I believe I can make it if my soul remains. Soaring over the city in Tomberlane. Nothing's holding you back down from Tomberlane. On a knife's edge, you cut the rope and rearrange. Stop what you're doing and give it away. Nothing is holding you back down from Tomberlane. Lost our mind, very own island. I see you coming. I'm waving you away. Where have I been? Stop what you're doing and give it away. Nothing is holding you back down from Climb on with the feeling, you're gonna find yourself in Climb on with the feeling, you're gonna find yourself in Climb on with the feeling, you're gonna find yourself in
There you go.
Oh, okay. I'll
right.
cover that too.
So I left out after Blue Light. You guys listened to Tumbleane?
Yep.
We did. We just listened to it. We hadn't really started talking about it.
Okay. Who played drums on Tumbleane? Is that Siggy again?
Siggy. Yep.
Siggy.
Yep. Where is it? I lost my liners. Oh no, it's gone forever.
There's the one copy.
One chance.
Found it. Maybe I should take a picture of every one of these pages and then lose that, just like that, when my phone craps out.
That recording of that song is awesome, Andrew. That vocal is awesome. The vocal on that song is awesome.
Yeah.
And Don, I don't know. I know we've been talking a lot at that time about how loud Andrew sings and how to get it on a microphone.
Yeah, we covered that when you guys were.
Oh, when we disappeared?
Yeah. We
Because
didn't.
it really is awesome. And on this song, you nailed it.
Thanks, man.
But it was also challenging to mix because it's like, how do you mix around that, take away? Our big challenge when Don and I were listening was, how do you keep the vocal punch? Because what I was telling him was, you come to a job as a carpenter with a bag full of tools that are your strengths, and as a songwriter, I'm writing for my voice because I have a big voice. So that's my landscape part of how I write, right? Especially then. So when you don't hear it punch, it's like, that's the whole point of you're writing for the release of the vocal, right?
Yeah.
And if you don't hear that, then it's like you missed it. And that was one aspect of what we would do live, Christian, right? We would have this cool harmony. You have these great songs and you have this very warm presence. And then I have kind of a more of a, I bring contrast to the set with a big voice in harmony or whatever it was. Right. So anyway, in that song, how do you get it without, and that was Don's thing. Like, oh shit, that must've been that was a hard mix. I remember. That was a hard mix.
Yeah. I mean, so when we kind of all lost power there for a minute, Andrew and I talked about it. And I remember we used to go back and forth, back then, because he was like, I don't want a compressor used on me at all. Like, do not use a compressor. And I was like, dude, I have to use a compressor.
Yeah.
I'm going to kill you.
So I had to sort of be sneaky, not sneaky, but use this. I was very aware I was using as little as I possibly could. And Andrew, I remember you got really good at playing the mic. You would back way off.
Yeah.
Feel it, and that's all part of it's all a dance, it's all just using the technology to the best of its ability. And if you're singing loud and you're too close on the mic, it doesn't matter what compressor you have, it's going to sound terrible, but it's you learn to play the mic. I learned to play the compressor, and I would literally ride the input of the compressor as you were singing. I remember.
That's awesome.
And that's kind of how I got around it. When you started to get really loud, I would back off the input. Which doesn't change the way it sounds. It just changes how much it compresses you, which is what you don't want to hear. So,
from a listening standpoint, the cool thing is that somehow you were able to keep capturing his voice with sibilance, with the S's and the stuff that a compressor would subtract or change.
Yeah.
It would warm it up, or it would round it, or it would take the point off of it, or whatever it would do. Right. Somehow you were, if you were it's unbelievable. Cause I've worked with a pretty crazy big singer in Sugarland, and we have the same problem.
Yeah.
And I was like, God, and I had pulled up that song before, Tumbleane, and been like, it is possible, people. They're just not trying hard enough.
You just need that. Nah, that was fun. That was me learning how to engineer, and Drew learning how to sing on a mic, we were all going through it together. All of us were.
It's awesome, man.
Did we do that one in the house or in the studio or in the town cinema?
Tumbleane?
I sang that in town cinema.
Yeah, I remember that as well.
Yeah. I sang it in town cinema. I think we might have started building it elsewhere, but I think it was. What's that?
I think that might have been a full-blown town cinema.
Okay.
Because I kind of feel like Siggy, when he played on this record, played in town cinema, but maybe I could be wrong. I don't know.
Yeah. I remember him playing Call It Even in the
house.
house.
Yeah. So because
that was a one pass or something that we did.
Did we?
Call It
Did
Eagle
we?
was so cool because it was live. I remember that.
I remember that too. That was cool.
Yeah. Yep.
What were you saying, Don?
All right.
No, that was it. Just I just like, I feel like we did most of that one in the theater.
I remember the bridge bass that moved the song before it into this one. We did last. Like that wasn't that wasn't the real bass line when we tracked the song.
Yeah, I don't remember that. That's cool. You remember that?
And 'cause we were trying to figure out how to merge the tempos.
Yeah, that's right. Because it's like slowed down. Had to slow down a little bit.
How do you do it? And then we were like, and I was like, well, can something play this melody? And you were like, why don't you just play it? I was like, can it go like this? Like I'm showing you.
Yeah.
I'm such a dork.
Was I snarky like that, or?
No. You were just looking at me like, why are you overthinking this?
All right, let's jump to the next song then. So Billy and the Time Machine's next.
Mm-hmm.
And this is another one that we did sort of pseudo at the Doghouse, right?
Right.
And
Loops.
what I specifically remember about this is that we had loaded 2 different loops in. I think you had, Christian, off of that brushed CD sampler, drum loop sampler.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Panned one to the right and one to the left.
And
it drove me
every
crazy
8
because
bars,
it would phase or
out.
something. Yeah. Oh, you're upside down now, Don.
I know.
So how much did you do in the Doghouse? Because you had Joey playing on this.
Yeah, this
Yeah,
is one.
You
Yeah,
had
this part over
Christian.
there.
You're playing Wurlitzer. So this must have been. I remember singing it in town cinema, but you must have brought it pretty well baked to the cinema for me to sing the vocal on.
Yeah, you sent me the song in its entirety already.
Does it take up a couple sides of two sides of a cassette?
Yeah, it was long, but I liked all the verses though. I mean, that was the thing is you sent it to me and you were like, I know we've never really. This was the beginning of this narrative, actually.
Yeah,
I remember you were in California and you were like, hey, what are you doing? And we hadn't talked for a minute because you'd moved, and you sent it to me. I was like, send me whatever you got, and you sent it to me, and I just was like, wow, this is great. And then I thought, well, I'll just build a track. Because we couldn't record because you were in between places, and Andrew went in town, and I just started building the track, and I didn't even know Joey could play guitar. And
it was so cool.
He was like, "Oh yeah, by the way, blah 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 blah." I was like, "What the?" But I was into those loops. I was trying to figure out how to make songs sound cool with loops, and I didn't know how to do it. But that's what this is. There's in one ear is one loop. The other ear is like the next one on the same CD.
Right.
And like how they way they record loops, they take a drummer in and pay them. You know? And this was like, okay, make one small variation change. Okay, and that's the next one. And you go down until you find the one you like. And I just use like number 3 and number 4 and then pan them out because I didn't know what else to do. What's funny is, Don, you get a kick out of this, is that every 8 bars, it phases out. Because it's the
I remember there being
dude.
some phase problem that I didn't like in the kick drum or something.
Right? And then I couldn't figure out, I could get the song structure based on the cassette you sent me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I did it. And then I sent it back to you.
Yeah.
Well, you came to town. I was like, hey.
I came to town. I didn't, I remember you had pretty much built it, and I was like, wow. And I was like, whoa. Like, because I sent it to you just like send it blind, sending it in the blind. I'd send cassettes
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa. So I was really wowed by the space of it. It fitted perfect. I was like, I think it's really cool because the vocal that's all this very lo-fi production stuff. And the vocal is very hi-fi, and the performance is and it's such a cool mix in this.
Yeah. All right, let's listen to it.
All right.
Cool.
Okay, I'll count us down again.
Oh, everybody's going to have to mute themselves because 'cause
Asking a lot here, guys.
I don't have that capability of joy.
Okay, you guys ready?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1, go.
He's moving in and out. It trails up in the black. One breath that he's so sure of, and the next one it attacks. Now you're really here, is projected on a screen, and what you thought was sharing is moving in between. Billy is here, the time machine again. To a crowd from a spaceship up above, so comfortable the distance calls him when he's nervous on the ground. The lights are taking on the smoke, the noise and haze. Where are we gonna land to be? Everywhere today. Oh, Billy's here, the time machine again, with one foot in what he was. Stuck in all these what you know is real. You're spending your whole life denying what you feel. Do you really think you're free? How could you ever be when the love that's in everything you stay? machine again, with one foot in what it was. Now he's up around the bend.
Such a good headphone song.
But, who played that guitar at the end? Was that Joey?
That was
dope.
Joey.
Joey.
Yeah.
Wow. So
Who
cool.
played the phaser guitar though? That's in the left
No
hand.
kidding. There's so
Oh.
many cool sounds in that fucking
That
thing.
was my problem. That was me. Andrew, that at the end of that bridge, you go to like your lowest note and then you go to your highest note.
Yeah.
They're one right after another, and it is like if you ever want to like just sit your kids down for a second and say, "Dad, this can sing."
No kidding. I mean, I was, and like Don and I were talking earlier about Tumble Lane, like we had worked for 4 albums together. And then that is the penultimate of getting the vocal as I hear it. I mean, when it kind of, the way he would use reverb at the end of notes to wash out into the expand, stuff like that is just like, holy shit, it's so beautiful. And I remember, I mean, to me, any talk of like an emphasis track on this record, I don't see how we don't have this on the list. And it's 6.5 minutes long, but that performance, that vocal performance is like, and the mood is so unique and distinctive.
Yeah.
I mean, I hear Radiohead, I hear its influences in there, but holy shit, that performance is like, it's a great, that's a,
and
you know, when I first sent it out, I remember Dennis, Meg, and they were just divorced, and I just got in town, and he raced across town. Meg said, he's got to come talk to you. He sat me down, and he goes, fucking Billy in the Time Machine, man. He's looking me in the face and goes, Jesus. You know, it was like, and I never really got that kind of affirmation from my family before, but like, he raced across town and they had just been in a bitter divorce, and he just looked at me and said, motherfucker, that's great. And I remember being like,
that's
and
awesome.
I thought the same when we got that. I was like, when I heard that, just to sing into that space, I'm like, because you guys created this place, this space to sing into, that's part of it. It's like, holy shit, it's like outer space, you know? It's so
Christian created that, man. That's what I was gonna say. Like, Christian, that's the first time, and I was like, wow. I remember you had that machine in the doghouse. I forget, it was 16 something.
Like a 16-track digital thing.
16 track.
just incredible.
I was like, man, he's got skills. Because like,
no shit.
And I was like, damn, that sounds amazing.
I think you can buy those on Craigslist for about $30 now too, if you want to get one.
I have 4 digital consoles in the closet that anybody can have if they'll come pick them.
You know, I honestly, the only thing I wanted to do was to impress you, Andrew, because you were on the other side of the world.
Yeah, well,
and you trust me with your music, and it's hard to trust another human being with music, especially stuff you're making. And we've always had this, at least we're not, you know, like no matter how tense or how joyous or whatever it is, we'd always protect the other person's music.
Yeah, that's
somehow
true.
We would do that. And I knew at the time I don't know if we were strained or if you had,
I was out of
circumstance, you had just taken you to the other coast, and it wasn't necessarily at the best or worst time. It was just happened. And just the act of you sending me music and going, hey man, what do you think? Was all I needed to like, I'm going to go to work.
Right. But if you guys had zoomed in to where I was living when I wrote that song, I mean, I was like cutting my teeth as a carpenter, and like I was living in almost a destitute kind of way. You know, it was not easy. And I had taken on this job for a therapist I knew. Husband had inherited a place. His uncle, or it's not even his uncle, like not a distant cousin, like his second cousin. This guy, Strother McMinn, was a famous car designer in Pasadena. He passed away, and Richard was the next in line, so he had to take care of the estate. So Richard knew me through Mary and knew I was handy, and he's like, go fix the house for me. You can live in it. So I lived in this house in Pasadena for like 4 months and fixed it up. And that's where I was writing those songs. And
Wow.
the guy had died. He was famous. Like, you can look up his name. He's a famous car designer. And he had crashed his Trans Am, and he had it sitting in the back of his house right outside the window where I was sleeping at. And I would wake up at any time, I'd work on the house, and then I'd make music in this place. In this very long, I didn't know anybody. It was so bizarre, man. Such a other side of the world story where I was coming from when I wrote most of those songs on that record. Anyway.
It's amazing because you truly channeled the band.
Yeah.
And the narrative of the band. And I mean, you know, I'm sure people listening or watching this already know a little bit, but if you don't know the band, we've always had a problem because everyone wondered which one was Billy.
Yeah.
You know, and finally there's a good answer. You know, it's like, listen to the song.
Yeah.
Check it out. You know, like it's awesome. Anyway, that was when I remember you calling me, Andrew, and we should make a record.
That one line always gets me. I'll tear up maybe, and because I don't listen to it that much anymore. But do you really think you're free? How could you really be when the love that's in everything you still can't see? I mean, it's like
wrote it down when it went by. That
yeah.
And you changed the melody right there. And with what's going on outside right now, I mean, I'm like, wow.
Right.
You know,
and it always got to me. And you know, that's free associating writing. What am I even talking? I don't know. You know, that's the Vonnegut influence, and that's why that's so close to Kurt Vonnegut to me. That was Vonnegut kind of writing. I'm trying to channel that character. I'm saying to myself, why do we even call it that? And I remember we called it Billy Pilgrim because I don't know if you remember this, Christian. They put us on like Jen put us on like okay, you have a chance to change your name when we got signed. Right. And we looked through everything. We were both readers and everything else. And I remember reading through Vonnegut because we both had an affection for him. But it wasn't the idea of Billy Pilgrim or the theme. I just thought it sounded like our music. It was young.
Yeah.
Pilgrim, you know, like it was emotional, soulful, spiritual music. And Billy Pilgrim sounded like exactly what that music was. It wasn't the fact that Kurt Vonnegut had written it and he was a time traveler or any of that.
Right.
You know, it just sounded like us. Of everything I looked at.
Well, it totally makes sense now. You can't, you know, like I could never imagine a different way, but there's something special about going this far down the road to get to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.